All right, another podcast that nobody wanted. Here's episode 2 about UAB and Georgia, or UAB and Georgia, or Georgia UAB, however way you want to put it. Georgia plays at 7:30 on ESPN2. Kickoff is at 7:30, like I said. Georgia's a 42-point favorite, by the way, in this game. So last week, a lot of people, a lot of the fan base was upset with I guess the offensive performance, the defensive performance in the first half. We talked about that in the running home. So what is success for Georgia against UAB this week, in your mind?
Let's start offensively, right?
You're going to break it down group by group.
Yeah, I'll break it down offensively, defensively, and then I don't think it'd be really hard to talk about special teams.
That would be pretty
making
easy.
extra points and field goals and not, kicking it out of bounds. That'd be a good start. But anyway, before we get into I'll talk about offensively. The first thing I would like to see is a consistent performance and getting a little bit of a rhythm. That was, I guess that's the same thing as starting a little bit faster. Red zone execution would clearly be another one. I think that's been a struggle all year long, staying out of third and medium, third and long.
Third and long.
If we do get in third and medium, third and long, I would like to see something other than, and I'm not trying to be hyper critical of Bobo, but something a little bit more creative than a tunnel screen or a draw. If I can call it from my couch watching, it's pretty much other coaches that are getting paid, excuse me, a lot of money.
We paid money to get a mute mic, and he has
no, sorry. Let me make sure I know where the mute. Oh, look at that.
Not work.
Oh, it didn't?
What? Actually, let's test this out live.
All right, I'm gonna mute it.
I'm muting me. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, what about this? Can you hear me now? You got to hold on to it. We figured it out.
Can you hear me now?
Well, I heard you cough.
Well, I know, but can you hear me now?
Well, yes.
Well, I'm holding the button down, dude. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I held down the button. It worked for me. I don't know what to tell you.
Do it again.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Now?
Yes.
How about now?
Yes.
I guess the mute mic doesn't really work then.
Well, I think maybe it's not the mute mic. Maybe it's the asshole behind it.
Maybe. That's
I think it's me and you.
Anyway, go keep going.
Anyway, a little bit more creativity, a little bit more rhythm from the very beginning of the game. The intensity in which the offensive line goes about their business from the very beginning, I think is really going to be critical. I think overall, I know that's not really what your question was, but to me, to feel like the offense has done better and is making strides for improvement is more consistency, more execution in the red zone, staying out of third and long, third and medium. Those would be good sides for me.
I think the biggest key for Georgia offensively, third and longs and third and mediums, whatever. I mean, those happen in a game. I would like to see less of them, but it is what it is. The red zone and getting bogged down in the red zone has been a killer for Georgia. You're already dealing with limited possessions with these new clock rules that suck. Last week, if Georgia scored in the red zone every time they had the ball, it would be a blow. The game would have been a 30-point game, or a 20-point game. It would be over the 20 points.
I think I've figured it out. My prediction was 38-20. If you take even if you take field goals down there, I believe that would have been pretty close to the.
It would have been close to it. Yeah. It would have. So I and I feel like when we get into the red zone, and I don't know, I don't know. Maybe it's not the execution. Maybe it's not the play calling. I don't know who to blame on it, but the creativity of the plays in the red zone. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Also execution because, I mean, Tate Ratledge,
That whole sure,
Yeah.
but those happen. I'm talking about the first 2 drives. Once we got into both drives got within the 15-yard line.
Yep.
It just seemed like I don't know, nothing was working. Nothing. So it's either the creativity or the execution, and I don't know which one it is. With Monken, you can say a lot of things about Monken. Obviously, he's probably one of the best offensive coordinators to ever coach at Georgia. His offenses always were able to get the ball in the end zone.
Totally agree. Really good in the red zone. Makes a big
really good, and it was really creative. So again, I don't. For me right now, it seems like it would be the creativity with play.
Maybe a combination of both. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, this team's still not all put together, but it needs to be. I mean, Auburn's one of the best in the red zone. I mean, they've played literally nobody. I mean, we'll see it this week when they play A&M. Their red zone defense is really good. So that does kind of concern me. I know I'm already looking ahead, but it does concern me.
Well, as we've said, the biggest difference to me, and again, I'm not a football guru, but nothing has been easy offensively this year. And I don't know if that's a combination of creativity, play calling, or if it's the quarterback, because you and I have both seen situation. I'm not blaming Beck. He's a young quarterback at all, but sometimes he'll have multiple options on a play on passing, and he'll choose the more difficult option when there's other guys that are open that seem like it would be easier.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what that is, but I know this watching, it's definitely seemed like nothing has been easy offensively for Georgia this year.
No, Carson Beck right now is a check down Charlie. I don't know. In the second half, he didn't do it as much, and maybe that's because at that point, Kirby told him, "Fuck it," fling it. I don't know. I don't know, but like in the first half, and before that, all the games, he checks it down a lot.
He does, but I think that's coming from the head coach.
Well, I do too.
Quickest way to get your ass bitched playing quarterback at Georgia is turning the ball over.
Yeah, exactly. And Carson Beck is supposed to – the only reason why everyone said, well, he's the starter, it's obvious, is because of his arm and his arm talent, his ability to throw the ball down the field. You got to start using that. And, we have a good enough defense to where, if you turn the ball over once or twice, you're going to be okay. But situationally. But you should be okay.
This defense, I agree.
Yeah, so you should be okay. I don't really understand why we're not trying to attack or move the ball forward rather than sideways. If I see another screen to a wide receiver, I thought Bobo, people always joked about the screens to the halfback screens. Those haven't existed. It's now he's reinvented himself to the wide receiver screens.
Well, Funkin ran a lot of that too. You know what I mean?
Sure, but he would go sideways and then start going, down
over the middle. He used every part of the field. Yep.
Right. So, but we're not doing that. So the screen plays they're not as effective when you're going sideways the entire time.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Here's the other thing I would say to add to that point. I'm hoping, and hope is not a strategy, but I'm hoping that we see a different team, with maybe 6 games under our belt, right? Where they're going to start trusting him a little bit more and opening some of this up, because if they don't, I mean, he started in the second half of the South Carolina game. I would like that charted. How many times in the whole season he's used, meaning Beck has used the middle of the field versus this as a percentage versus the second half of the South Carolina game? I guarantee you it's dramatically different.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure there's somebody that has charted that too. But yeah, actually, we should probably look into that Sunday after the game. But yeah, the middle of the field has got to be open. And Brock Bowers, I mean, he was non-existent in that first half.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Visiting that, I know we should be talking about UAB, but he was non-existent. And then second half, he's there. Why aren't we using him more? I don't expect him to be used in the UAB game. Georgia should win this by the time the ball's rolled out there. But I would like to see him get involved a little bit more.
Well, and if somebody tells me it's because defenses are they're saying don't let this guy stop you, do you not think they were saying that last year?
I mean, they were.
Clearly.
Yeah.
And he was more impactful last year. I know I'm not saying he's not been impactful. I'm just saying more impactful last year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think offensively we've got to see some growth. I think we'll see if that's the other thing I'm really concerned about with the injuries that is I don't know how long it's going to be before we see Ladd McConkey. It reminds me of the same thing that Kirby did with A.D. Mitchell last year is day to day, week to week, and then we're 6-7 weeks into the season, right? Or whatever. But
I don't think he's going to play. I wouldn't expect him to play this week against UAB. I would expect him if he's going to ever come back. It would be next week. It would be next week. You have to have him on the road in Auburn. That's a daunting task.
Nope. If we're going to see him, I agree before the Florida game. But I think this offense, my point is hope, pray that the offense looks different, halfway through the year than it does right now. We're breaking in an offensive coordinator. We're breaking in a new coach. So I'm not going to be overly critical, but success is more rhythm, using all parts of the field, staying out of third and long, running the ball consistently, not having everything be such a struggle. Though I don't care about the points, as it doesn't. I mean, really, I would take UAB in the points.
Well, 42, yeah, it's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, I agree. So, defensively, what would I like to see?
Yeah.
For me, I think the defense played. I got to be honest. I have high expectations, but even in that first half, I was not worried about South Carolina. I felt like we would be able to adjust and we would be able to clamp down. They got 53 yards of rushing, South Carolina.
Yeah, and it was mostly Spencer Rattler running around.
So I would like to see the defensive line dominate from the very beginning, dominate the line of scrimmage, number one. Number two, if Javon Bullard isn't back and we still got some guys out in the secondary, I'd make UAB beat us passing, and I think it would be good experience. Right. I'm not worried about our defense. Pull people out of the end zone and control the line of scrimmage, make them kick. If they're going to get down there, make them kick it instead of giving them 7. That's the biggest thing I would say that's changed from the last couple of years with Georgia is how many games in the season were we before we had a team that had a rushing touchdown against us, right?
And last year?
Yeah.
Did Oregon score anything?
I don't think we had a rushing touchdown scored on us until way late in the season.
I think it was Auburn.
May have been.
Feels like it was Auburn.
Keep them. Don't let them run the ball in on us. Control the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Make them beat us. Make them try to beat us passing, and let those defensive backs and rest Bullard. If he's not right, rest him again. Right.
I think it would be silly to play him.
And as far as Everett, and then what is it? Daniels, number 14.
I think you're probably going to see Julio. Is it Julian or Julio? I always want to call him Julio.
Aguero. Let's just stick with Aguero.
No. Humphrey.
Sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Is it Julio or Julian?
I don't know, man.
Let's look at it.
It would be a total guess, and if I guess, I'd probably get it wrong.
I always want to call him Julio because that sounds better. It sounds like a cooler name. I think it might be Julian. Let's see. It is. It's Julian. I think you're going to see him play.
Really?
Yeah,
Why? It's just for experience. You think Everett and Hickey Madoodle Daniels did that bad?
I think, well, whenever they asked Kirby, the media asked Kirby in the press conference about Everett, he said, well, if you want to play, you can practice really good. Then in the game, you got to play good. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see more Julian Humphrey. I just wouldn't be, unless, something goes on in practice this week where
You just took Julio and Julian and you made it one word, Julian.
Julian Humphrey. I think he's going to play more. Whatever. I'm going to nickname him Julio for now on.
Well, that's fine. I knew who you were talking about, but
yeah.
I'm good with that too. Let's put them out there and see who's going to play, who can perform when the lights are on, right?
Yeah.
I thought Everett did a lot better in the second half. I thought him and Humphrey.
I think him and David Daniel both played better in the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got, again, I'm not going to be overly critical, but those would I don't know what would be your key for success on defense.
I would just like to see tackling better. I watched a little bit of UAB. I watched some of their games. I think they're going to throw the ball a lot. They're going to throw the ball in space. They're going to throw it sideways. I would like to see us tackle a little bit better. Last week we didn't tackle very well.
Certainly didn't on that first touchdown.
No, we didn't. So that's got to be. That's really my only key. Actually UAB's quarterback is not that bad. I know that sounds really silly. Zeno, I think is his name. It's not Jalen Milroe. Shout out to Saturday Down South. I think that quarterback's actually pretty good. He's thrown for over 300 yards in every game.
Was he recruited by them, or was he somewhere else?
Let's look it up. I think it's Jared Zeno, UAB. Jacob, my bad. He played at Baylor. He's a transfer from Baylor.
They throw it around a little bit out there, so.
Yeah, from San Antonio. He was a 3-star. Let's see. Minnesota, FAU, NC State, UNC, Kansas State, South Carolina, Georgia. Georgia offered him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Boston College, Utah, Arizona, Indiana, Syracuse, Baylor. Hold on. There's a longer list. Arkansas, Florida, Missouri, Rutgers, Texas Tech, SMU, and Penn offered him. I guess that's a fun fact for everybody. But yeah, I think he's a good quarterback. So I would like, to limit. I don't even know, what happens if Georgia's up 30 points in the second half? They're going to throw the ball around the entire time. So is under 300 yards a success? In these games, I don't know.
I think so. You limit them to 300 yards. If you limit, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but you limit a team, I don't care if they are UAB, to right around 400 yards total offense.
In today's game, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. South Carolina only had 300.
Yeah.
303.
Yeah. 53. What was it? 53. I know I've said it before, but one of them was a 30-yard scramble by Hickey Madoodle, the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. That part, I mean, South Carolina's offensive line is so bad. I don't think we're going to play. They did held up better in the passing game, pass blocking.
Is that better? Did you think they did better, or are we? It's hard for Georgia to generate pass rush this year. We've got Mikael Williams, and I haven't seen anybody else that, unless we dial it up,
with a linebacker blitz or a corner blitz,
and pushing and having the defensive line, the center of that line pushing the pocket to make the quarterback.
Yeah,
we can do it, but it's not as consistent. And
I would like to see it. But I don't think they're going to do it. I think Georgia's going to play pretty vanilla on defense. So And if you think Georgia's going to come with 10 blitzes in a game against UAB, you're out of your mind, and you don't know Kirby Smart. It's just not going to do it.
Nope.
So if they can hold, UAB to about 300 yards, and they can hold that quarterback under 300 yards, 250, yeah, I think that would be success. I think that would be that's pretty average.
And hold them to what, 70 or so for rushing, 70 or under?
I would say 80 or under, because what happens when, if this isn't a knife fight, which I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm going to tell you, at night, at our place, we're the number one team. If we're having knife fights with UAB and we had a knife fight with South Carolina for 2.5 quarters, I'm not panicked, but I'm going to get a little bit more. The meter is going to start going a little bit more that way.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not saying we're going to have to come in there and beat them like we beat TCU, but I expect a little bit of a statement here.
I'm hoping for a statement. That's the thing. I don't know where this Georgia team is. The past 2 years, I could tell you where Georgia team was. I could tell you if Georgia was going to come out and win a game by 30 or 40 points. I just could. Like the Kentucky game last year, I knew that was going to be a really low scoring, close game.
What I saw, we were at the game, of course, but not of course, but we were at that game, and whenever they were in warm-ups, and Stetson Bennett was just warming up, and he threw a ball, and it looked like a knuckleball and floated and fluttered. I'm like, oh shit,
yeah,
we're in trouble.
Yeah,
we might as well be playing with the deflated beach ball because Kirby's going to run the shit out of that thing.
Yeah, I mean, and then like 2021, I knew that going into that Arkansas game, because Georgia really hadn't distinguished itself as the best team yet in college football that year. And then going into that Arkansas game, I had no doubt in my mind that Georgia was going to just beat the hell out of them. I have no idea. Like, I have no idea.
I would agree with that. I just base it on previous years and Kirby and that staff being able to develop people and coach them up and the type of expectations based on what he's been able to do. This team I think will improve. I don't think we're going to see the dominance that we would have seen, but I expect if it's gonna hold true, a little bit of, they went to the doctor this week, they got some stuff fixed, and the level of expectation even amongst the coaching staff, they got some, they've got some experience under their belt. They got 3 games now, right? So let's let it fly a little bit.
I think that halftime speech with Kirby, or was it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's halftime.
Because at the end there, he said that against Ohio State post game was, we'll have a good time after we win this thing, and then we got to figure out what we can do better. I think Kirby I think he knows the team that he has. He knows he has a really good team. I think he knows that he has a team that could potentially win a national championship. It's just going to take time for it to all gel together.
I do. Here's what I don't know if he thinks he has a team that can win a national championship. I think he knows he has a team that he can get in contention. I think he thinks that a playoff team, and as he said before, you get into the playoffs, it's just like taking ABs in baseball. Sooner or later, you're gonna
hit one, and right. That's why I think I would say that he thinks he has a team that can win a national title. All right, so special teams, I think you're going to see Zirkle. I don't think you're going to see Woodring, or how do you say his name?
I think it's Woodring, isn't it? But I could be wrong.
I think you're right. I think it is Woodring. Anyway, you're going to see probably Zirkle. I don't know.
Whatever it takes.
Dude, I don't even know.
Well, I don't want to bang on a kid, but weren't both of them like they're scholarship players and like?
Well, Zirkle was like the number 1 kicker in his recruiting class, and this Woodring kid, he was supposed to be all world. Like everyone was after him. Everybody.
Well,
So
the biggest part of kicking is all mental. What is that going to do to the kid's psyche if he pulls him?
I don't give a shit. He missed 2 and he hooked one left and hooked one right.
Yeah, it's going to end up biting us in the ass. We got to have that's something we've gotten spoiled with.
Man, well, you got to take easy points, and if you can't make easy points, like I have a fear of like going into Auburn and the first drive because I've seen it happen. You drive down the field, it's a chip shot, you bog down, whatever. It's the first possession, no biggie, and then
Momentum changes on the
then
road.
the Auburn crowd goes nuts, and they start, hey, we can win this thing. That is a really scary proposition. So something's got to be figured out. And I know kicking in practice, because Kirby said in his post-game press conference last week that, he never saw it in practice where he was missing those field goals. It's a lot different kicking in front of 93,000 whenever you're only kicking in front of, 200 people that are all your teammates and coaches.
But let me ask you a question. Isn't Zirkle the guy that kicked off out of bounds to start the damn game off?
Yeah.
I'm concerned about that part of it. I don't know anything about kicking, but that to me.
Butler come in?
Huh?
Can Kevin Butler come in?
I don't know. Can he take a class? Big graduate assistant.
Yeah.
Take Greek literature. But anyway, or basket weaving.
Yeah.
Or golf. Anyway, I don't know, dude. I do know this. The kicking game, if you can't get that sorted, it's a real problem. And it's going to end up beating us somewhere down the road. And I don't know how you fix it. And I'm not sure jerking the kid is, kickers are
they're weird animals.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You just can't kick one on the same hash too. That was the problem. He hooked one left and hooked one right from the same hash, and it was like 5-yard difference between the two kicks. I don't know.
Overcompensated maybe on the second one. I'm guessing, but
I don't know. I don't even know how to kick a football.
Let me ask you a question. There's a lot of things I know as if we never would be, but if we were coaches, I got a kid that has been highly sought after, and I tell him, to go kick off, and he kicks the damn thing out of bounds. I'm going to go ape shit bananas.
Well, looking at the kick, I think they were trying to corner kick it, and he just missed it. I mean, Rodrigo did that. Podnesley did that. Camarda did it. I'm not. And Kirby talked about that. Like, I forgot what year it was, but we kicked the ball out of bounds. You remember that? And Kirby talked about that where
but I know it happens. But here's my thing: the margin of error with Georgia teams in the past, we could afford to give up yards. This team, if we can't afford to be giving up yards, not yet, right? Yeah. So that goes. And here's the other thing: don't get bogged down in the friggin' red zone, so you have to be dependent on a kicker that's got the yips or whatever they got. I don't know.
I mean, what you can say that, but you need points.
You
need points. So that's got to be figured out. I don't know how you figure it out. I don't know what you do. Have a mental coach, maybe. I don't know. Give him some CBD gummies before he goes out there. I don't know. Relax.
He might take a nap on the 50-yard line.
Have like a panic attack. Vince. Georgia. Here's the other thing too, and I know I mentioned it prior, but the fact that SEC media, that guy, the Tennessee fan that does the pod, and he's always on the Paul Feinbaum.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Will Brighton, or is it Michael? I think it might be Michael Brighton.
I think it's Michael something.
Yeah, SEC Mike. Shout out SEC Mike. He said Georgia, they're not going to win that. He went on Paul Feinbaum and said, this doesn't look like a team that's going to win a national championship. I don't even know that they might win the East, but they'll get beat by LSU.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, but my point is that's the SEC media. They're really like, Georgia's not looking as good as they used to. And the national media are like, well, that second half showed you why Georgia's Georgia and why they're the two-time defending national champions right there. This is why they're the program to beat. I just don't. I don't know what. I don't know. And like I would move Georgia down in the AP poll. I know you don't care about any of that stuff, but
Matters. Doesn't matter, man.
I know
All
you
that stuff makes for fodder and social media. I don't, I think it's okay, but people have to get, just like, everybody has to get clicks and they got to, get people talking.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I know. My
Opinion.
point is, I think there are two separate camps on this Georgia team right now. I think there's two different thoughts. I think one thought is that Georgia is going to be the next, that they're in the mix for the national championship. And then there's, Georgia fans, Georgia media, and SEC media who are going, I don't know, this team doesn't look as good as they used to. I just find that weird, and I think there's two different camps there, and I don't know what to make of that, but we'll see how the season.
Yeah, I don't either. And sometimes, it's okay to say I don't know, and that's what you said it earlier, and I totally agree with you. I don't know what this team is yet.
I don't know either. Yeah.
I know they're talented. I know they got some injury issues. I know they're well coached. So with good talent and being good and having good coaches, and based on a track record, until they prove me wrong, which humility is only a week away, as Kirby says.
Right.
I'm gonna put my chips on this team will get it sorted out, and they will be better at the end of the year than they are currently. And that's just what I believe, but I don't know that to be a fact. And the reason I know, we talk about this some, but putting out these preseason polls and having any kind of idea before really mid-October is about when you start finding out what teams really are. Would you agree with that?
I'd say probably at the beginning of October, end of September. I think this week is going to be I think this week is going to be one of those weeks where is a I don't even know.
Separator.
Separator, because you have a lot of big games this week all across the country. I think this is where you're going to start seeing. I think by the beginning to mid-October, I think you're right. I think that's whenever you start realizing what your team is. The next 3 weeks for Georgia are
totally.
They're the most important parts of the season. I know if you told me that going into the season, I would be like, well, then there's a massive problem going on. Seeing the way it played out, though, it's not that big of an issue. I think Georgia should go unscathed the next 3 weeks. But I wouldn't be shocked if, they get popped one time.
Yep. And Auburn at Auburn.
Yeah, and then Kentucky. I think Kentucky is a really good
team. But we got to have Kentucky at home, right?
Yeah.
We almost got beat against South Carolina at home.
Yeah, the last time we lost to Kentucky was in Sanford Stadium in 2009.
No, I didn't know that. And I know it can happen, but I'm just saying the degree of difficulty if you're Kentucky. I mean, they played Ball. I mean, they played Ball State, and so did we, right? I know you can't do transference or whatever you call it, but I've watched them play. They're good, but I think
they're a type of team that could beat Georgia, though. They can match up a little bit. They're probably the most physical team in the SEC East, and they can match up and they can do enough to kind of make it an interesting ball game. And then who knows what happens next. But that's
so you fear Kentucky more than you fear Auburn.
The only reason why because I've watched every game Auburn's played. The only way that I would fear Auburn is because we're going into Jordan-Hare, and Auburn could be undefeated by this weekend. Auburn could beat Texas A&M.
Who are they playing? I'm sorry. Where are they playing?
They're playing in A&M. They're playing at College Station.
Mm.
But it doesn't matter. What happens if they do win? There's going to be a ton of momentum going into that, and they're going to believe. And that would be a huge win.
Can you imagine that fan base? That's a loud place anyway.
Exactly. And that's what scares me. Even if they only have one loss, they'll still say, well, hey, we got Georgia. This is, I hate Georgia. This is bad as I hate Alabama. They're close to it. It would be for them to believe. So that does scare me.
Auburn scares me more than Kentucky does.
Kentucky scares me.
Because it's on the road, and it's dealing with young quarterbacks and a lot of unknowns. That's the reason it worries me a little bit more.
Yeah. All right. So we're here at almost at the 35 mark. Let's go with let's do final score for the. I know it's hard to do in these type of games, but let's do final score here of the UAB game.
I'm going to say Georgia scores. I think they'll score 42 points, and I'll give UAB 10.
So your score is 42-10.
Yep.
I'm going to cheat here in a minute because I should have done this before we started recording. So you said, was it 42-10? You said.
Yep.
So Georgia does not cover. Let's see. Let's see how many points UAB is averaging, and then that way we can be really prognosticators here. Plus 21 plus 6 divided by 3. All right. That's not going to happen. Okay. They're averaging 20 points a game. That's not happening against Georgia. If that happens, there's issues. I'll go Georgia. Do I want 52.
Oh, wow.
UAB 10.
So you got them scoring 10 more points. Damn sure better hope it comes from the defense based on what I've seen. I just don't know if this Georgia offense right now is capable of putting up. I mean, I prove me wrong.
You're over there statement, and they could make a statement. So, but no one will notice because there's 50 other better games on.
Yeah.
So let's add this before we go because we still got a little bit of time. I'm really and I've gotten killed by the way, on social media for what I wrote in my blog, the latest blog. Do you not read my latest blog?
I did, but I don't know.
I mentioned donthedog.com plug. I said there's no reason why Georgia should be playing at 7:30 because I'm going to miss the Ohio State Notre Dame game, which to me is the headline game. I don't even know where College Game Day is. I imagine they're probably in South Bend, right? That is probably the biggest game. It might be one of the biggest games of the year. It has a ton of playoff implications on it. Why is Georgia playing UAB at 7:30? I know we don't get a lot of night games and we complain about that, but these subpar teams, these G5 schools that we play, there's no reason that we should be playing at night against these G5 schools. It's ridiculous. Stop. If we're going to play a night game, play a night game in the SEC. Vanderbilt.
Television, right?
Huh?
That's the answer. It's television, right? CBS, probably going to get the Kentucky, probably get the Auburn, right? Isn't that, don't you think?
The 3:30 games for Georgia?
Yeah.
Well, Georgia Auburn's 3:30. I imagine the Georgia Kentucky game will be at 3:30. Ole Miss, Georgia, depending on what happens, that'll be a 3:30 game. Georgia Tennessee, that could be a night game if Tennessee loses one more time. That could, which I really hope they lose to Alabama, but that could be.
What a fun game that'll be to watch.
Both teams will really just hate each other. Yeah, it'll be great. But anyway, that could be a night game. That's not at home. I guess Vanderbilt would be the next best bet for a night game. But I just don't. I don't understand why we play a night game against UAB. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like whenever Mark Richt years, whenever we play like Georgia Southern at fucking 7:30. It's ridiculous.
Better than playing at noon.
I'd rather play at noon right now.
Really? I would.
Yeah, we won't miss that many games. I guess the two games that you would miss would be LSU, Arkansas, and Clemson and Florida State.
Those noon games, dude, I guess because I went to Georgia during the 90s when that was the Ray Goof special. But anyway, those noon games I always have I just don't – that's my least favorite time to play a football game.
I don't like it either, but, whatever. I think Georgia should play at noon against G5 schools. Stupid. All right. Well, you got anything else?
No, I would like to say, so far, just a question. defensively, are you surprised at how much better? And maybe it's because he's healthy, or maybe it's because he knows the system.
Tyke Smith.
I've been really talking about tackling. Tyke Smith really proven me wrong. Not that I didn't. I mean, I've always liked him or respected him, but this year he's a dog, man. I appreciate what he's done so far.
Yeah, Tyke Smith. I did not like him very much whenever he first came on. I'll be honest with him. I think you probably knew that. And he has played a lot better. I would say he has filled the role of Christopher Smith pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, will Georgia face a better quarterback than Rattler? Probably not. Not for, well, no, probably not. So, we'll see how things go for the rest of the season. But yeah, I'm with you. I think he's played really well. Would he be Lassiter or Starks would still be my defensive MVP.
But I would tell you this: biggest surprises so far in the season. Number one is how well he's played based on just a layman's perspective, and how I mean, that's not the right word, but how quiet Brock Bowers has been compared to what my expectation. So there's a defense surprise and an offense surprise. I know that wasn't.
I think Dylan Bell has been a surprise. He's become
but when you play at Georgia as a freshman, he was a true freshman last year, right?
Yeah.
They saw something in the guy, but I agree. I mean, he's been a pleasant surprise.
For at running back, and with all those injuries, he's kind of become like a Deebo Samuel. I think Georgia should give him the ball more, but hey, whatever. And by the way, kudos to Dejon Edwards. I hope he doesn't get hurt. For the love of God, we don't need any more injuries.
He makes a difference, man. He runs hard.
Difference, and he actually makes the offensive line run blocking a little bit better. Oh, I'd like to add this too. Xavier Truss, he's got to play a lot better the next 4 weeks at the very least. He's got to play better. He got his ass kicked.
At right tackle when they bumped him out, or all during the game?
It didn't matter what position he played. He got his ass whooped. Yeah, I rewatched the game. He got his ass whooped a lot. Even Cole Kublik said it.
Really?
Yeah, it was very noticeable after rewatching the game.
Well, I'll have to go back. I'll pay more attention this week. But that first half, South Carolina's whipping all their asses.
Well, yeah, up front, yeah. And Tate, shout out Tate, love Tate. He's got to do a little bit better, and I think he would tell you that too.
I think the whole offensive line has to do better. I mean, that's a general statement. They got to, as they go, this offense is going to go, and they've been underwhelming. I think it would be a good word so far.
Yeah, extremely underwhelming.
And I wonder, that's the thing I always, is that a little bit of playing down to your competition and playing with your food? I hope, but I don't know.
I don't know either. Ernest Green has been pretty solid. Obviously, Cedric Van Pran has been solid too. Ernest Green, for playing his first 3 games in college football as a redshirt sophomore, he's played really well. So shout out Ernest.
I agree.
All right, well, that's it. We will probably be back. Hopefully, we'd like to record Sunday or Monday with a new, I guess, recap of the game. Until then, check out Donald the Dog. I'm going to put up a blog on how to watch Georgia on ESPN2. Old people get really excited. Those do more numbers on the blog than, like, when I do the Know Your Enemy and I just kind of give a background on who the team is. That does more how to watch than Know Your Enemy.
Uh-oh.
So I don't know.
I didn't see. That tells you how much I know, because after the first game, when it was streamed or whatever, I figured most people knew how to turn on ESPN and SEC.
Well, the old people, and then the old people will comment.
I represent that demographic. Damn it!
I don't know, man. The people that go, what channel is that? I'm like, well, I don't know your TV provider, so I don't know. But anyway, check out Don and the Dog. There'll be a few more. There'll be predictions. Obviously, I think this prediction, if you saw this, you'll know my prediction, but it'll be more at length without him talking over me. And then check out, I guess, if you need packages in your small business, go to Unishippers.
Unishippers Atlanta. That's really important. Unishippers, but yeah, appreciate the
Unishippers Minnesota for anyone out there.
yeah.
All right. See you guys later.
Adios.